Just a quick update on the competency-based training that the working group has been looking after. We're lucky that we've got, other than myself, we've got two other working group members here today, Greg and Paul. Todd, unfortunately, he couldn't make it today. So I hope you can read it, but so essentially we've been working on a review of Chapter 3 of the IAGSA Safety Manual, which is what historically was the training syllabus and guidance material on currency. We've been trying to actually increase the competency-based training aspect within this Chapter 3, and then in particular the actual training syllabus that is currently contained in there. We want to try and develop some actual tools and templates that we can provide to the membership. And lastly, but not leastly, we also wanted to give a bit of a bit more explanation on why IAGSA should be promoting a competency-based training approach, especially in view of sort of standards and a bit of a development within the industry of coming out with very prescriptive minimum requirements that potentially could actually be a bit of a threat to the industry as a whole. So as we've put in the last point, coming in with very restrictive minimum entry requirements, especially in the fixed wing domain, where we've seen that historically within the industry, could potentially create a bit of a problem to airborne geophysics as a whole by firstly outsourcing some of the safety issues into other aviation industries rather than dealing with it ourselves by actually, getting the young pilots into the industry and training them up and having a more holistic approach. And in that point, we need a bit of a succession plan for pilots, again, especially on the fixed wing side, where historically it's always been quite difficult to get new pilots into the industry and bring up that competency on surveys. So what we've done so far in the group, we started off with a gap analysis of our own material that we had in the respective companies against what currently is in Chapter 3 and tools available within IAGSA. Just to try and capture any further ideas and components that we could include. We started a review on Chapter 3, and especially Greg has been quite instrumental in that. We've developed a draft competency assessment scale. So as part of the discussions that we had on, when we first started working on this, is that we felt that we needed to define somewhat, how to measure competence when you're actually in the aircraft with the pilot training that person, how you can actually try and get a consistent standard across all the member organisations that they know what to look for when they're training their pilots, what they should be looking for. So hopefully that should work. I can give you a quick... So this is what this looks like. So we've got two options. This is option 1. So as I say, it's only a draft at this stage, and I'm not going to go into detail. But we just tried to actually define competence in terms of skill and knowledge and behaviour and understanding to try and quantify or, standardise a little bit of what will make out the pilot's level of competence. So this is option 1. Option 2 is sort of a little bit simpler and more in progress. but just actually trying to get a rating on how to measure the person's competence. Then another important aspect that came up was that we've never really looked at the requirements for the trainer. So they could, it'd be quite likely that among different member organisations there's a wide difference in, in experience levels and quality standard of the person conducting the actual training. So Paul has been doing a lot of work within his organisation to just actually get a bit more of a definition behind what is required of the actual trainer in the CBT program. And then lastly, we've started some discussions on recurrency training, so when people haven't been on certain technologies or out of the industry, sort of at what point it would trigger CBT training and how to approach it.